हरे
आज
कृष्णा
हमारा
एवरीवन।
हरे कृष्णा माता जी। तो जैसा आपका आइडिया था, आपने सो काइंड ऑफ यू कि आप ही ने ये सजेस्ट किया कि हम एक ऐसे टॉपिक पे आज बात करें, एक ऐसे टॉपिक का विजडम सभी लोगों के साथ शेयर करें जो ना सिर्फ भारत में बल्कि पूरी दुनिया में सिविलाइजेशन के बिगिनिंग से हर कोई ये सवाल का जवाब जानना चाहता है कि आखिर मैं कौन हूँ, मरने के बाद क्या होगा, आत्मा क्या होती है, व्हाट इज अ सोल, एक्सेट्रा, ऑल दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स। ना सिर्फ फिलोसफर्स बट हर कोई अपनी लाइफ में कभी ना कभी इस बारे में जरूर सोचता है। और भारत
हम्म।
में इस सवाल का कि आखिर मैं कौन हूँ, आत्मा क्या है, इसका इतना ज्यादा महत्व है कि इसे चारों पुरुषार्थ में सबसे टॉप मोस्ट पुरुषार्थ कहा जाता है। तो इसीलिए माता जी, आई एम सो ग्लैड दैट यू आर एबल टू ज्वाइन टुडे। एंड मैं आपसे रिक्वेस्ट करूंगी कि इस टॉपिक पे, ताकि हम सब भी उस डायरेक्शन में चल पाए टुवर्ड्स सेल्फ रियलाइजेशन, उस टॉपिक में वहीं से शुरू करें जहां से श्री कृष्ण ने शुरू किया था। कि जब अर्जुन ने उन्हें कहा था कि आप मेरे गुरु बनिए, तो जब पहला उनने ज्ञान शुरू किया, जब अपना ज्ञान का प्रारंभ दिया, जब एक्सेप्ट किया उन्हें अपने शिष्य की तरह, तो उनने शुरुआत ही इस चीज से की कि आत्मा क्या है। बेसिक से शुरुआत, परफेक्ट शुरुआत। तो आई गेस इट वाज सेकंड चैप्टर, द कंटेंट्स ऑफ गीता समराइज्ड। So
यस,
I would request you to start from where he started and enlighten us on this subject.
thank you so much, Harshita, for inviting me, and I'm very happy to be here and discuss on this very, very important topic of who am I. And आपने जैसे कहा, इंडिया में आत्मा और आत्मा के बारे में ज्ञान ये तो बहुत ही कॉमन है. इनफैक्ट एवरीवन, इट्स लाइक एज इफ it is our culture, part of our spiritual culture. That's why India is, so glorified all over the world, because it's part of our spiritual culture that every person is aware of this knowledge of this, at least has heard about it. So, you know,
सबको इतना तो पता है कि आत्मा होती है
इतना.
और जन्म
हाँ,
लेती है,
उसके बारे
बट
में
उसका
क्या
क्या
बोलते,
यूज,
बेसिक में राडा
हम
नहीं है.
एक्चुअली,
बेसिक. So basic, at least that nobody doubts, so we
या
begin from
या
a
बचपन
point
से
where,
सब बच्चों को पता है।
that's our good
जी
fortune, so
जी
uh,
जी
so कृष्णा जो भगवत गीता में यहाँ पहला जो पॉइंट जो अर्जुन को बोलते हैं, he kind of chastises him. Okay, you are talking like an intelligent person, but you are, sounding very, you know you are not really talking like a brahmana or a person who has knowledge, who जिसको ब्रह्म का ज्ञान है. At that time
जी
he tells Arjuna that you are lamenting for something that is not worthy of grief. तो वो
जी
पॉइंट से हमको क्वेश्चन आता है कि what is Arjuna lamenting about which is not worthy of grief? So Arjuna was actually, so confused, so depressed, so overwhelmed, by the situation that he was facing at that time, which is a very, very, ऐसे दुश्मन को भी ऐसा सिचुएशन नहीं आना चाहिए. और we can identify with Arjuna that we are also sometimes put in those kind of situations, like ब्रह्म, धर्म संकट में हमको कितनी बार
अपनी फैमिली
लाइफ
के
पुट्स अस,
अगेंस्ट,
हाँ, फैमिली के
या
रिलेशन में या अपना पर्सनल
हमें
लाइफ
थोड़ा
के
बहुत
रिलेशन में.
नहीं इतना प्रॉब्लम होता है, एंड अर्जुना हैड टू किल द फैमिली मेंबर्स ही लव, सो ऑफ
Yeah, so
कोर्स ही
that
वाज
is too
एंग्री।
much. Yeah.
या
So at such a situation, we can understand that, the point that Krishna is telling, that you are lamenting and miserable about something which is not worthy of grief. That is like the key for us to understand what is that misconception that is making us, uh, lament or be miserable or depressed for what, that's the key which we have to understand, and that's what Arjuna next line, the next verse itself, he tells him this knowledge, that it is in text 2.12. It's Krishna is telling him that actually you are an eternal being. You are a spirit soul. And he gives this understanding to him that there was never a time that I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kings, and in the future shall any of us cease to be. So with this verse, he's establishing one very important point, that we are all eternal by nature, we are spiritual, we are spirit soul. But why are you so miserable? It's because you are really not understanding that you are the spirit soul. You are identifying yourself and your miseries and your miserable condition because you're identifying with this body. So the first thing he just breaks, is that why are you miserable? It's because you are in this misunderstanding that you are this body. But actually, you are a spiritual being, an eternal spiritual being, and an individual being. So, Harshita, each one of us, we all are individual beings, spirit souls. Because one thing we know is that your experience and my experience in this life is individual, right? Each one of us are individual souls. So that's the knowledge, is like the ABC, the first thing of spiritual life which Krishna tells, Arjuna.
Mataji, this thing that you remember, I used to take these Gita sessions. So that was the second or third time I was reading, and suddenly I realized that Shri Krishna, what an amazing teacher he is being. That 3 4 points we can see from right from this. As soon as he accepts the position of the teacher, he is taking away like all the things that he needs to do. First of all, he is giving the perfect knowledge of self realization. Second, he is giving the knowledge that his pain ends, his suffering ends, because if he is constantly, sometimes we are in a state that we are suffering so much that our mind overtakes everything. We are not, it overtakes our intelligence when we are in so much pain. So he is giving
True.
this knowledge that you are scared that these will stop existing, but they will not stop existing. They have always existed and they will always exist. But the thing over here, as he will explain further, that of course that this does not mean कि हम अमर है, we are not अमर. So what is this thing? What is this identity which exists, which keep on existing? Who are we and what are the parts of ourselves? Of course, we know about our body, our physical body, our sthul sharir. Then, what is the soul and what is it that travels? What is it that remains constant? So, in the next shloka, Sri Krishna mentions it, and I would like you to explain about this also.
Yeah.
The identity,
So,
our identity.
so I can give you with a very simple example, like when you uh, look at your family album, and you look at your childhood pictures, like as a baby, you had a 6-month-old baby body, and as you turn the pages of the album, you see yourself as a first grade student, going to school, and then you see that your body has completely changed from the 6-month-old baby body to a toddler, and then you see yourself as a teenager passing your 10th grade. So then there are pictures. So all throughout those, as you see the family album, you say, oh, this is me when I was a 6-month-old baby. This is me when I'm in my first standard. And then you see that your body is constantly changing, but it is you who remain constant, who is the observer of these changes of that we see in the body. You are the individual personality who is observing these changes. And then when you look at it in the mirror, you say, oh, this is my eyes, this is my nose, this is my hand. So who is that
I am
person
the
who
experiencer.
owns?
Yes.
Yeah. So who is the person who owns this? So that
I
is
have
the
my
spirit
mind,
soul.
I have my ego, I have my intelligence, but
Yes, these are all
what am
different.
I?
Yes. So we are like the observer, the constant, the individual person who is experiencing all these things, all these changes in the body, and has this observing that this body belongs to me. That person is the soul. So the description is very nicely given in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. Where he is describing that the soul is covered, just like a fetus is covered by within the womb. How the womb has layers, the fetus is inside and the womb is like layers around it. So similarly, the soul is covered by this body. Now, I would like to give an example which is very, very simple to understand. I can give an example of a car, a vehicle. Now, a vehicle,
Rath
there
wala
are, of
shlok.
course, yeah, the car is a vehicle. It's a very,
My
very,
favorite shlok.
you can have a posh vehicle like a Mercedes Benz, and but it cannot move on its own, right? You need a driver to drive that vehicle, however posh and the vehicle is. So there has to be a driver who is driving the vehicle. So if there's an accident, so the Mercedes Benz is a very, very expensive car. Suppose there is an accident. Will the people first take the Mercedes Benz to the garage, or they will take the driver to the hospital? So
Right.
let us ask this to the viewers. What do you think? Because the Mercedes Benz is so expensive, will you take the Mercedes Benz? Oh, चलो उसको बचाओ garage में ले जाते हैं.
Basically, this shows that whatever you do of your body, how much beautiful you make it. If
Yeah.
your consciousness, and as you said, driver. So, jaise, I mean, I thought you were going to mention that Rath wala shlok. You also love it, and that shlok which Srila Prabhuji has mentioned in Bhagavad Gita as it is. I love that Rath shlok so much that I
Yeah.
find a way that I put it into everything, everything in
Yeah. So this.
whatever I say, feminism or Vedanta, anything I will put it there. So, as you know, Mataji, that in the Rath Shloka, so the horses are five senses. The
Yeah.
driving instrument is the mind, the driver is the intelligence, and the passenger is us, is the soul, is the true Jivatma. So as you said that Mercedes, if it gets an accident, so will you take the body or will you take? So basically, what you gave it a new point of view, a new twist to that Rath Shloka, that whatever you do of your body, the driver
Is
and the
more
passenger
important.
are all important. So your
Exactly.
intelligence and your basis, the state of your being is more important. And that itself brings us to, a lot of people ask us, why are you doing this? Why do I need to know about what is Atma? Why do I need to realize this? Why do
Hmm.
so many Maharishis have, you know, so much research has been gone into this. Of course, the ancient Maharishis have done research on many things, but on the nature of Atma, basically Mandukya Upanishad is
Hmm.
completely filled with, like, it's like the anatomy of a human being. The who
Yes.
am I? The who am I question has the biggest answer is the Mandukya Upanishad. And
Yes.
I would,
So
I'm sorry, I'm saying more, but
yeah, tell.
what you said, what you said about that shields thing, so that reminds me about Mandukya Upanishad, a slok from Mandukya Upanishad, and I would like you to elaborate on it too. So basically, when we think about who am I, of course, we know that this is a sthul sharir. But once a person asked me a very intelligent question that Atma is pure, Atma is a part of God. It is pure, it is conscious, it is taintless. It is a part of Paramatma. So why does a human being who is actually Atma does mistake? And why does he, take a rebirth? You say that rebirth depends upon karma. So how does, that karma gets into that soul? What is the relationship? So this entire anatomy is explained in Manduka Upanishad that basically there is Sthul Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, Karan Sharir, and then ultimately there is the so as you said, Mataji, that Sukshma Sharir basically mind, intelligence, Mano,
And
Buddhi, Ahankar, and Chit.
Ankar.
And Chitta. These
Yes.
all are Sukshma Sharir, and Sukshma Sharir and Karan Sharir. It's these kosha. As you said, there are shields. So we are pure Atma. We are pure Jivatma. We are a part of Paramatma. Why do we misunderstand ourselves? Why do we have such wrongful pravritti even though we are a part of Paramatma? Is because of, as you mentioned, these like a womb has layers. Similarly, the kosha has been mentioned, Mataji, as you know. The pancha
Yeah.
kosha,
Panchakosha.
like some Ji Mataji. So the Panchakosha, a lot of people give the example like as you said, the womb covering. So they give example like Russian dolls. So basically, my outermost covering is my Annamaya Kosha, my body, my bag of food. Underneath there is my Pranamaya Kosha, my nadis and chakra, basically my pranavaya. Then comes the Manomaya Kosha, my mind, Vijnanamaya Kosha, my intelligence, and in the end, Anandamaya Kosha, that is pure bliss. So, this is something that I wanted to answer to that person. I don't know if that person is here or not, but we are pure beings, but our karmic identities, our Sukshma Sharir, only our Sthula Sharir dies when we die. Our Sukshma Sharir passes on to the next person. And what happens when a person attains mukti? That is a whole another question. So
Another, yeah.
I would like you to, yeah,
So the
uh,
Sukshma
talk about.
Sharir, like we are talking about the gross body, which is the Sthula Sharir, and Sukshma Sharir, which is mind, intelligence, and false ego. Not just ego, the false ego. So, the way you explained about the chariot, the Rath, you know, the I want to explain to the viewers that, a very simple way to understand about the gross body and the subtle body and our uh, existence as a soul is beautifully explained in the Upanishads, where the whole thing is compared to a chariot, and the five wild horses are riding that chariot. There are wild horses, and they are like completely uncontrollable horses. And those five horses signify our senses. They are our five senses which have gone totally wild. They are completely out of control. So when we are in this bodily consciousness of life, if you just observe all around you, you know how the whole culture or each one of us is so obsessed with our senses, and how we are trying to fulfill or satisfy all the demands of the senses. So it's a beautiful comparison that, like wild horses, they have gone wild. So each of the
Basically,
horses have,
every rut,
yes,
like every human being is just running, like all the ruts are going wherever the horses want. That
yeah,
is the pravritti of
yeah. The
most of the
reins,
humans.
the reins are like, the horses are connected to these reins. Imagine the reins going wild when the horses are running around. So the reins are compared to the mind, because the mind is the seat of all these senses. All these senses are predominant in the mind. So these desires go wild. Obviously, the mind also goes wild. So imagine the rains going all around. So the mind is totally uncontrolled because the senses are going all uncontrolled. So the person who's holding those reins has to be very, very strong, isn't it? If you want to control those wild horses, if you want to control the mind which is going, the reins which are going all around, you have to have a person who's very, very strong and who can control all the five horses and the reins in their hand. So the person who's holding the reins is intelligence. Only when our intelligence is strong and is very, very sharp, we can control the mind and then in turn the senses. So the person who is like a passenger in this chariot which is going so fast, the person is obviously kind of holding on to the sides of the chariot, to balance himself, and he's completely bewildered and is completely fearful, and he's completely, like, you can imagine if you are in a chariot which is going wild, what would be your situation? So the person who's a passenger on that is the living entity who is completely identifying with the material body, who is completely bewildered and fearful because he is identifying with this body which is going wild. So he is like suffering the situation because he's identifying, because he's riding this chariot. So just like I gave the example of the Mercedes Benz, it's a very funny example, but we start identifying with the Mercedes Benz. Just like the person who owns a Mercedes Benz will obviously think that, oh, I'm so posh, this Mercedes Benz belongs to me. He's so attached to the Mercedes Benz that when he's driving on the road and if a rickshaw comes in the way, he will say, hey, rickshaw, just get out of the way. That means he thinks he's the Mercedes Benz. And that rickshaw is coming in the way, so he's kind of telling, hey, rickshaw, jara raste se hat jao, So the mentality is that we become so attached to the body and we start thinking that I am this body. But actually, we are by nature the driver, the spirit soul who is driving that body, that vehicle. It's just a covering, but the soul is the real person. Now, just like the car needs petrol to run, and the driver, obviously, if you give the petrol to the driver and give the nice mango juice to the car, fill the tank with mango juice, do you think it will run? The driver needs mango juice to nourish himself, right? He wants juice
Yeah.
to nourish himself so that he can work and he can live. And the car needs petrol to function.
The
So if you
misunderstanding that
understand, it's a misunderstanding. Yeah. So if you
yeah,
think that I am this body, then you will think that, oh, I can be satisfied by drinking petrol. Like this is what I need. But no, you are a person. You will die if you drink petrol. So
yeah, this
we
is
are actually living entities. We are spirit souls. Our needs are different from the body. It's as simple as that. Once you understand this basic difference that I am a living entity, the real spirit soul who is driving this body, then if you understand that the body has needs, just like Annamaya Kosh, you have to understand that the body has needs. You have to fulfill the needs of food, shelter, sleep. That is the needs of the body. But you also have to then understand that if you are spirit soul by nature, then what is your needs? So another beautiful example which is given by our Acharya is an example of a fish. If you take a fish out of water and give the fish the best kind of foods, butter paneer, whatever food that people are attracted to, or give him the best kind of alcohol to drink or wine, or give the fish beautiful girls, make him sit in a nice holiday home in the beach. You think the fish will be very comfortably sitting and enjoying himself? Chatpata rahega, chatpata, he's saying he'll be like
पानी
suffering.
चाहिए, yeah.
He will be suffering like anything. Why? Because fish by nature is an aquatic animal. His needs are for him the natural thing which will really, where he will feel comfortable, where he will flourish, is in the water.
जी.
Similarly, we as spirit souls, we are like that fish. We are, spiritual by nature. So our natural surrounding is to be in a spiritual surrounding with spiritual people. Our nourishment should be coming from the spiritual side. Now imagine, just like that fish, we are trying to bring that spiritual being who is in a human experience and making him be satisfied by all material things. It is just like that fish, he will never be satisfied. And that's what we see in our real, you just look around you. It's the richest person who has all the money in the world who is the most miserable person. The rich people are the ones who have maximum suicides. If money and material things would be satisfying a person, then why would a rich person want to die? Kill himself. Because the fish cannot be satisfied by material things. It's as simple
That
as that.
this example so beautifully clarifies that, a lot of times we're thinking, I will do this, then I will get happy. I will do this, then I will get
Yeah,
happy. So
yeah,
it's like giving the fish this butter paneer and, shahi paneer
yeah.
and tandoori roti and hoping ki, arey, fish will live. But there is a quote I read somewhere that you are not a human having a spiritual experience. Like when we say na that बहुत अच्छा meditation हो गया, that we say I had a spiritual experience. So that quote said, you are not a human having a spiritual experience. You are a spiritual being having a human experience.
Very good.
So
Yes, that's really a beautiful statement. That kind of sums it all up. So
yeah,
when you talked
जी,
about karma, you told about that karma, the point of karma, that right now, because of our karma in our past, of course, it's a very complicated, it's a very important subject, a chapter, the law of karma in Bhagavad Gita. We can have another session about that, but briefly, I would like to say that we are in this human experience right now because we have gone through many different lifetimes. Like just now we are in like the Mercedes Benz model. We are in this vehicle which is like the topmost model, but we have gone through many other vehicles, so uh, the fact that we are spirit soul, we are like the the real person who's traveling in these different vehicles. And right now we are in this human experience, and uh, the beginning of our spiritual life is, to understand that we are not this body, and all the temporary designations that we have believed ourselves to be connected to this body. Because of these temporary designations, we get so lost in the external, temporary things, that we lose the essence, that our energy, where we are supposed to put our energy, that is to understand about our real nature, our spiritual nature. So that is what we have to understand. And this is like the manual. Bhagavad Gita is the manual
absolutely.
that
Yes,
God has
absolutely.
given us to understand this very complicated, instrument. You need a manual to explain the do's and the don'ts and to understand how to use this gift that we have got. So God is giving us a manual along with this. So,
Mataji, as we were discussing that a few days ago, I guess, that Shri Krishna says to Arjuna specifically that I am revealing this top secret information to you. So the
yeah,
word revealing has the significance that, especially if you read the Vedas, like I recently made a video about Nasadiya Sukta. So when you read the Vedas and a regular person, even with high intellect, tries to decipher it, it's like extremely complicated, like pahelia riddles. And Sri Krishna has done like he has actually truly established dharma by giving this knowledge directly. He tells directly what the reality is. He becomes the guru to everybody that is reading. So, like till Dwapar Yuga, maybe, I mean, Shri Krishna, of course, has mentioned what will be the consequences in Kali Yuga, how it will happen. So, till Dwapar Yuga, even mid Kali Yuga, the Guru Shishya Parampara was very popular. The Guru used to, reveal the secrets, explain these riddles to the Shishya. But maybe Shri Krishna realized that as adharma rises in Kali Yuga, even a human that is in sattvic pravritti will not be able to attain the knowledge, will not be able to find a guru. So he himself establishes himself as a guru. And I have in I make several videos on Vedanta, you know about that. I like studying about it. So when I explained Vedanta, I mentioned it specifically that since Vedanta Namo Upanishad Praman. Vedanta is the knowledge that comes from Upanishads. And all the Upanishads are summarized in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. You can find direct Sri Krishna quotes, like not even like layered. Directly in Upanishad, you will find Arjuna said this, Krishna said this. Bhagavad Gita is the sar of all the Upanishads. So even if today several philosophers might think that, okay, I belong to this section, I belong to that section, but all of it, all of the basic core knowledge, the core knowledge and the Brahma Gyan, everything is in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And it truly has the power to, people say that read Bhagavad Gita, it will take you out of depression. Of course, it is true. Read Bhagavad Gita, it will make you successful. But uh, I mean, it has the capability of not just turning your this life around, but actually giving, the final destination to
exactly.
the soul, which has been,
True.
I don't know how many billions of years it has been, in this process from here to there, this birth, that birth. So,
84 lakh species to be precise.
yes.
Krishna gives that knowledge in Bhagavad Gita that there are 84 lakh species here. And
And Mataji,
uh,
in Nasadiya Sukta in Rigveda, there is, an interpretation that actually, like we all know, in I think in Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam also it is revealed. Like we know now that modern science is reaching to that universe begins at Big Bang, and it ends like everything is what should I say, completely expanded, and heat wave, I think something like that. It ends
Harshita,
over there.
you're not focused. Harshita, your face is not seen properly. Yeah, somebody just
Um,
mentioned it. So yeah,
yeah, I
just
was just
yeah,
looking at you. I forgot about my face.
yeah. Just okay. Continue.
Yeah, so in Nasadiya Sukta, it is mentioned that several universes are created and destroyed. Several are, like we say that our Brahma is this number of Brahma. You might know the exact
Yeah.
number, Mataji, I
Yes.
forgot the
Yes.
number. This
Yeah.
Brahma is this number of Brahma, and is, every Brahma's one lifespan is the complete, age of the universe. One universe
True.
equals to one Brahma, and we
Right.
are on this number of Brahma. So in Rigved, it is mentioned that परमात्मा क्रिएट्स यूनिवर्स अगेन एंड अगेन बिकॉज कर्म खत्म नहीं होते जीवात्मा के.
हाँ,
सो
right.
basically that, billions and billions of years, the things that are carrying on the infinite cycle, the tedious cycle, can be put an end to. You can
Yeah.
actually reach true realization and mukti by reading
Krishna
Bhagavad
gives
Gita.
a shloka in Bhagavad Gita, A Brahma Bhuvana Loka Punar Avartino Arjuna Mam Upetya tu Kaunteya Punar Janma na Vidyate. So he's saying A Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So as you were describing, the Vedas describe that there are different planetary systems. So it's not just this life and this world that we have been traveling. We are traveling all the way from Brahma Loka. We have taken even a position of Lord Brahma. The living entities are going through our Brahma Bhuvana Loka. So we have been going through different levels of universes and different levels of planetary systems. We are going up and down. So since time immemorial. So even if you reach the highest, he's saying, even if you reach Brahmaloka, Punar Avartino Arjuna, you will come back
फिर वापस
because of
जी.
your karma, you will come back into this material world. You'll just be like a Ferris wheel, like in the fair when we go, you have this huge giant wheels which goes up and down like in a circular motion. So it's exactly like that, the samsara chakra. But then he's giving us this beautiful knowledge. He says, but punar avartino Arjuna, mam upetya tu kaunteya, punar janma na vidyate. That if you just understand the science of the soul and that you are connected to me eternally, once you understand that, then you will never have to come back into this material world again. So this is the knowledge of Bhagavad Gita. As you said, it's not just for this life. This knowledge can completely transform you at your entire spiritual, existence. It's like it can shift your whole consciousness. Personally, I had that experience, in my life. Like I've been practicing this path of bhakti since last 28 years, and I've been a part of this beautiful movement which teaches Bhagavad Gita, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. And I actually experienced like a paradigm shift in my life. I was very young, just in my 20s. That's when I was blessed to get this knowledge. And I not only overcame my present problem of, the misery and the depression and that I was in, but now over the years I've realized that, this has given me a eternal, goal, which I can, completely I see that it's like, you have a bird's eye view now of life.
Yeah.
When
And
you are
Mataji,
stuck down, yeah, sorry.
from the bird, I remembered we almost forgot
Yeah, I will talk
the
about the
bird
birds. Yeah.
shloka.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
coming to that. It's coming to that. So the bird's eye view is that when we are, imagine, walking through a dense forest, we are just seeing those, trees all around, and we are not able to see further than the trees, right? But if you have a bird's eye view, suppose you are a bird and flying up, you can see the whole forest down. So similarly, when we are stuck in our day-to-day problems in life, we cannot see beyond our day-to-day problems. The depression that we are in, the problems that we are in, the relationship issues, or whatever you may call. We are not able to, go beyond that because we start identifying with those so much. But when we get the spiritual knowledge, when we understand that we are not this body, we are the spirit soul, it's like getting a more broader vision, a more broader spiritual vision. Then you are able to see the whole picture from a bird's eye view. So yes, we should come to this beautiful example of the two birds. So this mention is given in the Mandukya Upanishad and Shvetashvara Upanishad, where the
Katha
comparison is
Upanishad also.
given. Katha Upanishad also, that the soul, the living entity, and the super soul or the Paramatma. Everybody must have heard the word Paramatma. So obvious that it's connected, Atma and Paramatma. So it's like, you know, uh, Atma is like a small portion of Paramatma. It's like a spark of the sun, just like the sun is so big and, source of all energy, heat energy, light energy, and the sunlight or the sun ray is just like a energy particle of the sun. So Atma similarly is just like an energy or a spark of Paramatma. And the description is given in the Shastras, these Vedic Shastras, that the Atma and Paramatma are compared to two birds on the same tree sitting on the same branch. Now imagine two trees, two birds sitting on the same branch, and one of the birds is turned his back to the other and is busy just eating the fruits and tasting the fruit of the tree. So the Atma is turned his back from the Paramatma, the other bird, and is just busy tasting the fruits of the tree. Sometimes the fruits are bitter, sometimes the fruits are sweet. So he's so lost in just tasting the fruits of the tree. Sometimes he suffers because fruits are bitter. Sometimes he enjoys and is happy because the fruits are sweet. But he is so lost that he's turned his back towards the other bird. And the other bird is waiting patiently. When will this bird turn towards me? So the Paramatma is waiting since time immemorial, situated in each person's heart. This knowledge is given further in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna is telling that Riddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. I am situated in everyone's heart as the Paramatma. In the heart, area of the heart, Krishna is giving this knowledge that just like the Atma is also situated near the heart region, the Paramatma also is situated there in the heart. That's why they are compared to two birds on the same branch of the tree.
Same branch,
So they
yeah.
are both near the heart, in the heart region. Paramatma is situated in the heart and he is waiting patiently when the living entity will stop his suffering and enjoying. He doesn't want the living entity to suffer in this world. So he is waiting patiently when the soul will turn back to him. And once the Atma gets this knowledge or this self-awareness, and once he begins his spiritual path, it is like turning towards God, turning towards Paramatma, and reconnecting back with Paramatma. Because that is like our real relationship. The first relationship that we have is the relationship with Paramatma in our heart. But because we forget our loving connection with Paramatma or God, Krishna himself, we forget that connection that we have. So we are looking in the other direction and trying to get all our satisfaction and happiness in this material world through all these different relationships, the material relationships. But as we all know and as we all have experienced, that the material relationships never give us any satisfaction. In fact, they become like the source of all our misery sometimes.
Because the base of all material relationships usually is moha. And as Sri Krishna has said that moha
Attachment.
is the cause of all suffering. Moha
Yeah.
leads to anger, and anger leads to all
Yes.
everything. Every suffering that a human experiences is due to cause of some moha or the other. Moha could
True.
be with someone else. It could be with our
Attachment.
own body. Yeah,
Yes.
attachment. Yeah.
Attachment to your own self or your family members or, you know, the material things. So
Attachment to your ego, attachment to your,
ego, yeah.
image. Yeah. Body, mind, any attachment comes in many forms, but Sri Krishna has said it clearly that it is the basis of all suffering. And even Gautam Buddha had said the exact same statement. It keeps, I mean, people keep posting about what Gautam Buddha said. Same, same shloka is said that Sri Krishna explains how actually in steps that attachment leads to this, then leads to that, then leads to that, and how all these things leads to our suffering.
It is so
So,
beautifully explained in Bhagavad Gita. One day we should discuss about that in our next this about
Ji
how the attachment leads to anger, and anger leads to So there's like a scientifically it is explained.
Mataji.
So
So, will should we take some questions?
oh,
Does
I would
anyone
love
have?
to take some questions. Yeah,
If
for
anyone
our
has some
viewers. Yeah.
questions, yeah. If anyone has some questions, you can post it, and we will try. I mean, Sita Mataji will answer them.
No,
Yeah,
even you can
I
answer.
found one question. Uh, Posted back. Mataji, I have a question. Where does Atma soul reside in the body? So I think we explained
Yeah,
the
yeah.
heart.
It actually resides in the region of the heart. It is uh, described in Bhagavad Gita where that in the region of the heart, like so where the heart is situated, in that region, the soul, in it's very subtle because soul is very subtle. It's more subtler than the mind, intelligence, and ego. So it is situated in the region of the heart. So that's why people say the question that, oh, if it's in the heart, then what about heart transplant? When the heart transplant is there, does the soul go into another body? So it's not like that. It's situated in the region of the heart. So another question has come. Mataji, what are your views on veganism? Of course, you know that as spirit soul, one of the qualities of the soul is, to be merciful. There are four
That.
pillars of dharma which we were discussing,
But
and one of them is
there.
mercy or daya. So daya, uh, tapasya, and satya, and saucha. These are the four pillars of dharma given in the Shastras. So the quality of mercy is expressed by a soul when he is very, very compassionate to all living entities. Understanding that we are all living entities, part and parcel of God. So it does not give any right for any living entity to think that I can,
I am superior to them.
enjoy.
Yeah.
I am superior, yeah. So
Yeah.
veganism and vegetarianism uh, is based on that principle where we show compassion to all living entities. So just to taste, to fulfill the taste buds, we cannot cause violence to another living entity. So
Mataji,
this
I
is in brief
posted.
this question. There is another question which just came. Somebody asked about how to attain moksha. So moksha is actually the translation of moksha is liberation. So as soon as a living entity understands that he is not this body, he is a spirit soul, and that he is an eternal being, you know. So the as soon as one starts acting on the spiritual platform, a person is already considered liberated because he's out of the cycle of karma. Because he starts acting on the platform of the spiritual platform. Then the next step is after moksha, what are the activities that you should perform so that you can connect back to God? That is bhakti. So mukti or moksha is just the first step. The next step for the soul is to get connected to God, and that is the process of bhakti, bhakti yoga. So we will be discussing more about this in our future sessions. So please join us.
Mataji, I would like to add something about that, understanding the soul. So, as we discussed in the beginning, that almost everybody knows this, that I am the soul. But it is called self realization and not self knowing, because there is a huge difference between
Huge difference.
realization and knowing. So you can say
It's
that
like theory and
I
practical. It's like theory and
yeah,
practical. Theory we may
yeah.
know a
So
lot, but if you have not done
everybody,
practical,
जी,
you have to act.
all
You have to do some action.
yeah, so all of us, we are over here, we got to know that I am Atma. So many, almost everybody knows that I am Atma, but all of us are not Mukt. That is because, of course, the difference between realization and knowing. So um, what realization is, as per my understanding, that when a person is able to, since we know that all these this kosha, all the suffering exists in the mind, in the intelligence, all these are created by the prakriti of these things. That moment when a person, as Sri Krishna also has mentioned, doing dhyana, that concentrating on the Agna Chakra, concentrating, he
Agni.
mentions in a shloka that concentrating your prana on the Agna Chakra. So basically, these dhyana, these samadhis, these maharishis, they are like able to observe like clearly the distinguish between, okay, this is the mind, and we can see the, the dance of the mind, these illusions the mind that was creating, and the consciousness, which is, as you said, Mataji, that consciousness, our atma, is like a spark of the sun, but even a small spark of fire also has all the qualities of fire. So if
Exactly.
Ishwar is Paramatma, I am also, Ishwar is Paramananda. So my true nature, the true nature of the Jivatma, is also Paramananda. So that mukti is actually living at that experience. So basically now we are talking. We can say that, mind is doing the talking, because Atma does not think, Atma does not perform. It exists in pure bliss, and realizing the mind, showing it a glimpse of what true reality is, living in that, you know while you are alive, even while you're alive, experiencing the actual reality, the consciousness, the paramananda of yourself, of your own consciousness. I would say that, that is explained as mukti in every sector of, not just Hinduism, but
Yeah.
Hinduism, Buddhism, Sikhism, every
To
Eastern
be on a
philosophy.
liberated platform, basically mukta platform, is to act in the liberated stage. But that activity which we do is the process of bhakti yoga, because that's when you actually act on the spiritual liberated platform. So yeah, we can take the next question. Is there something one can do to get rid of more or attractions? Of course, the whole process of spiritual life is to gradually come to this, practical understanding. As she was talking about, the realization. Realization means that we have to go through this process of spiritualizing our life. So the first way that the Bhagavad Gita tells how you can spiritualize your life is by connecting to God through the process of bhakti, through the process of bhakti yoga. So just like we do so many different types of yoga, you know, bhakti yoga is also a very, very bona fide process by which we can connect with God and act on the spiritual platform. And the basic thing which Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita as a bhakti yogi you can do is start hearing. It begins with the process of hearing. So as soon as we start hearing the knowledge, the spiritual knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, we are armed by this knowledge. Knowledge is like a sword, it cuts through our ignorance. So the first step is hearing. So right now what we are doing, all of us just discussing and hearing, is a spiritual bhakti process. As we hear more and we discuss more from the right sources. Now again, Krishna says, even as she started by saying that this knowledge is a secret knowledge.